Hello, I'm Louisa Nye and I'm Head of History at St Helen and St Katharine. In all of our history lessons, from the junior school all the way through to the sixth form, we emphasise to the students the importance of evidence and evidence-based decisions and reasoning.
The best thing about history is the way that you can kind of look at a source and then take what you know and make inferences about them, and you can kind of see what's changed from before and now.
One valuable skill that the students learn to develop through their history lessons is how to reason really clearly in an argument. Rather than making an assertion, they learn how to explain their views logically so that somebody can understand every step of their reasoning and why they're reaching particular judgments.
I chose to study history because in year 8 and 9 it had just really got my attention. I think it's really interesting learning about things that happened in the past and how different it is to the modern day.
From year 7 we start looking at key events in British history. So having established what history means and looking at chronology, anachronisms and how to approach evidence, we then look at the Norman Conquest to put those skills in context. We go through looking at the medieval period and we start exploring the balance of power between church and state. We finally finish year 7 looking at the Tudors, and a particular highlight is Tudor Day that takes place during Activities Week.
The best thing about studying history is getting to learn about all the historical figures and finding out about their motives behind what they actually did instead of just what they did.
In year 8 our attention turns to more internationally focused developments, thinking about the impact of the slave trade, the Industrial Revolution, and then going on to consider how people started to assert their political rights. In year 9, we look at World War I, and we have a whole school residential trip where we go out to Belgium and France to visit the battlefields, which means the girls get to engage with the history in first person, seeing the different memorials and understanding the impact that the First World War had.
I would say I was really moved at battlefields by the volume of people that fought and ended up dying, because you don't really grasp the concept of it until you're there and you can see all the names.
We then move on to start considering GCSE topics. In this we look at modern history. We look at China from 1900 to 1989. We study the Russian Revolution and its impacts and the birth of communism in the USSR.
The most interesting topic I've studied in history so far is the start of the Russian Revolution and how Lenin and Trotsky came to power.
We then go on to look at Nazi Germany, how that rose to power and make comparisons to the modern day. And finally we look at the Cold War, from the Second World War through to the early 1970s and the advent of détente.
For anyone considering taking history, I would say you learn a lot and it's really highly rewarding, and it's very satisfying when all the knowledge you know come into one